Welcome in to the SME Big M Live webcast of 2014 at Cobo Center. We want you to be a part of that conversation right here, right now. This is Paul W. Smith, usually with you mornings from 5:30 till 9 on News Talk 760 WJR, and host now of the Big M event webcast that's coming your way live with lots of interesting guests on how 3D advanced technology is shaping the future of manufacturing, MSV, modeling, simulation, visualization. And as you can see online here, you can submit a question, inquire, and do that online, and we'll get these questions to our guests immediately. We welcome into our studios for this Big M Live webcast, brought to you by SME, Dr. Michael Greaves, the research professor at Florida Institute of Technology, product lifecycle management, PLM author, expert, and professor. His new book, Virtually Perfect, Driving Innovative and Lean Products Through Product Lifecycle Management. Dr. Michael Greaves, nice to have you with us.
Thanks, Paul W. Nice to be here.
We've got lots of information that we will be bringing your way and clarifying certain bits and pieces of 3D advanced technology as well. Joining us, too, we're happy to see, along with Dr. Michael Greaves, the one and only Rick Darter. Rick Darter is president and CEO of Rave Computer Association Incorporated, which he co-founded in 1988. More than 35 years of leadership experience in the computer industry. Rick, nice to have you here with us.
Thank you, Paul W. Pleasure to be here.
We also have Donald W. Ishmael Jr., must be a good guy with a W in his middle name there, a senior director of production projects, planning, control, and analysis. He had been employed here at General Dynamics Land Systems now for over 28 years. Current title, senior director, as we say, production projects, planning, control, and analysis, and responsible for managing and guiding the PD&S organization through new and existing programs. Nice to have you with us, Donald.
Thank you, Paul. Appreciate it.
If you don't mind, I'll say Donald W.
Yeah, thank you, Paul W.
And then finally, Director of Public Affairs for Automation Alley, Kelly Kozlowski, is here since 2012 in this position, overseeing government relations, media relations, community relations, and communication and branding on behalf of the association and Automation Alley. Kelly, nice to have you here with us.
Thank you.
And we're here again taking any questions that you might have in our SME Big M Live webcast. How 3D advanced technology is shaping the future of manufacturing. How are we using this technology today? Somebody start me off with telling us exactly what we need to know about it. Who feels best to start off? Oh, come on, Professor. I know it's you. I knew this right from the moment I met you.
You know, we hate being called on. Right?
Yes, you do all the calling. We're calling on you now.
This technology has changed dramatically how it is that we create and produce products, because in the past we had to basically do very expensive techniques in terms of doing physical prototypes and going out on the factory floor and doing experimentations. And what this technology allows us to do is to, in essence, be able to create, engineer, and manufacture the product all digitally, because moving bits around is a lot cheaper than moving atoms around. And only when we go get it right do we actually go out and produce the product. So we take a lot of the cost and time out of a very expensive method of doing it by using these digital techniques.
Anyone else want to take a stab at that?
Well, basically, from a manufacturing, I'm on the user side, so I'm a manufacturing guy. These guys, Mike is more on the upfront development, and Rick is here doing the hardware end. I'm on the manufacturing end, and what we do is take that model, and that model then is used to develop the operation sheets. When the manufacturing engineer is trying to develop the process, they take that model and they can drop it right in and develop the operation sheet. And then we can also take it into a simulation mode and we actually simulate a facility and lay the whole facility out, just as Mike was talking about. You can simulate the whole thing of how the facility looks, how we lay things out, and what it's doing is we're not into a trial and error kind of thing. It saves a lot of money and time down the road.
And Rick, how does the future look? What kind of future will this technology create? And how does the work you do at Rave Computer tie into the Big M event?
Manufacturing is going through a revolution driven by improved processes and technologies. Rave is responsible for delivering one of the cornerstones of what's happening. There's the computer hardware piece of the cornerstone. There's the software, and then there's the education that ultimately, or the skill sets that know how to use it. We have a high level of expertise integrating computer hardware solutions as it relates to modeling, simulation, and visualization, and we're helping speed things up.
And you're recommending this for small to medium-sized businesses, would you say?
Well, I think with the new technology, one of the keys here is that this stuff is becoming more affordable, and it's becoming more user-friendly. And what's happening is now you can get that into smaller manufacturers, into the small shops that larger, like say myself with the General Dynamics or a Ford or a Chrysler, somebody can go down to small individual manufacturers that now can get involved and be competitive with people with this kind of technology.
Kelly, tell us a little bit about the Innovation Lab planned for the Big M event that Automation Alley is involved in.
Absolutely. So what we're looking to do with that space is showcase companies that have what we call the wow factor when it comes to this kind of technology. So it's companies in Southeast Michigan that are doing exciting things with MS&V or 3D printing technology, and just looking to put them front and center so that attendees can get an idea of what's already happening here in the region, because this isn't necessarily new technology to a lot of our companies. I think the fact that the Big M is being hosted in Detroit tells you something about where we rank across the country as far as tech innovation and using these kinds of tools.
Something we should certainly feel good about.
Exactly.
Dr. Greaves, Professor, what does it mean to be virtually perfect, and how does that relate to manufacturing, especially for the smaller manufacturing companies?
Well, Paul, that was sort of a little play on words, and that virtually perfect in the past meant not quite so perfect. But today, to be perfect is to basically be able to do these digital techniques and capabilities in terms of designing the product, testing the product virtually, and then being able to manufacture the product virtually. And then when we get it right, we'll be able to go out and actually do it efficiently and effectively. And the idea for small to medium manufacturers is that this is going to basically be a game changer for them in that they will be able to use these digital capabilities to reduce their cost and to be more efficient. The key is going to be, though, is we have a lot of work to do in order to be able to bring them up to speed and be able to bring that have been heretofore been very expensive tools and capabilities to allow them to, in essence, do it from a remote basis, as opposed to having to spend a lot of money on very expensive infrastructure. So we're working on, with Automation Alley, some mechanisms to be able to let them, in essence, buy this capability by the drink. So it is both affordable and effective for these small to medium manufacturers.
It's the SME Big M Live webcast, how 3D advanced technology is shaping the future of manufacturing. And as our guests have already told me, think about it as MSV, modeling, simulation, visualization. And I'll ask you, Don Ishmael, how important is modeling and simulation to the manufacturing world in terms of how you lay out factories, how machinists use the models and test fit parts?
Well, what it does is a couple things. If you look at it from the standpoint of an assembly facility, what you can do is actually with the simulation, you can actually have like a fly-in. You could come from the outside and look at a facility and come right into the facility and go right down the assembly line. From the point of trucks coming in the back, where the truck's going to unload the parts, to where the hardware and the material is sitting on the line, to how the tools and things come in and integrate parts into whatever you're manufacturing, it be it a car, or in our case, we're from General Dynamics, we're building some kind of a tank or something like that for the military. So there's actually people, you'll see the bodies in there and how the people can get inside a vehicle, how they can move, how they can put a part in. Will the person hit his head, his or her head? Can they pick something up from an ergonomic standpoint? Is it too heavy? So it's just amazing technology what you can do with this stuff and see how it all comes together.
And with that thought, with what Don is saying, pick up on that, Rick Darter, on how does the modeling, the simulation, and visualization affect how you develop the hardware for, say, big to medium-sized businesses?
We work closely with different application software providers, and each of their applications react to CPU and graphics technology a little bit differently. So what we do is consult with a customer and get to understand exactly what they're trying to accomplish, what kind of environment the computers need to be installed in. Are they going to be rack mounted? Do they need to be portable? And we blend together then the right technologies to make that happen efficiently. We'll do it through commercial off-the-shelf products if they're available, and if not, then we'll custom engineer computer chassis or components inside the chassis to meet that need.
Are we seeing this new digital technology another venue or a way to allow our manufacturers to compete globally and maybe even bring back manufacturing jobs, more of them here, like the auto industry has started, but others now, Dr. Greaves?
Absolutely. I mean, I think, as I mentioned, that this is a game changer in terms of being able to take a lot of the cost out of basically the development and the manufacturing. And in essence, for small to medium manufacturers, it is not only a game changer, but if they don't do this, they're going to go out of business. And the requirement here is to basically be able to be more competitive by using these tools and capabilities in place of very expensive trial and error and inefficient manufacturing capabilities. So I view this as especially as we sort of move more into robotics and being able to use all sorts of things, we'll be able to compete, I think, very well on the basis of lower wages costs because of the fact that we'll be using technology to displace a lot of the expensive things that the other countries have to offer.
Don, you want to add a little something to that?
Yeah, and I agree with him. I think what this does, it really opens up the market, and we talk about, earlier I was talking about assembly, but you talk about a machine shop. And now what you can do with that, you can simulate the whole process of when you bring a part in with that model, you can simulate how that machine is going to run, how it's going to work that part, and it saves so much money and time up front. I mean, the return on investment is what you're after. You want to be able to build a repeatable, manufacturable part that is as competitive in the market, and that's the whole key, is it can be competitive now.
Well, you're, as a user of the 3D technology, Don, and Rick as a seller of the product, anything else you want to add to this?
Well, it is becoming the technology curve between the capabilities of hardware is accelerating at a pace that even being in the industry for 35 years, I can't believe, and the capabilities of the software. So the enabling factors in what they can do for the industries are revolutionary. The costs are coming down, as we just discussed, and it's going to make a big difference in the way small business does business. And it's going to allow their innovation that very often comes out of small business to be competitive and recognized immediately. It's exciting times.
The Big M live webcast brought to you by SME, how 3D advanced technology is shaping the future of manufacturing. We would remind you that you should type in your questions on the website. We will get those questions and immediately ask them of our guests. But people are calling in on the phone. We aren't taking phone calls, just online. So if you have any questions, please type in your question on the website, and we'll get that information out here. Automation Alley is working with partners in the industry and academia to respond to the needs of the Southeast Michigan business community. I'll call upon Kelly Kozlowski to maybe tell us about some of the exciting things in development and about a formal announcement Automation Alley is going to make in the near future, which we would try to generally twist your arm and tell us now, but I'm sworn to not do that. So since this isn't my regular radio show, I won't do that. But if you feel like telling us, Kelly, just feel free.
I appreciate the soft nudge.
Yes.
Absolutely. So Automation Alley traditionally has developed programming and services around what the business community says it needs. We try to be very agile in that way. And so about a year ago, we got the manufacturing community together with those from academia and said, what are the disconnects? What needs do we need to address? And overwhelmingly, manufacturers were saying there's this advanced technology that we're aware of, or maybe we're even using in limited capacity, but we need access to not only better resources, more affordable resources in this space, but the talent, people that know how to use it. And so we immediately jumped on trying to address that need within industry, and that's actually how we got connected with Dr. Greaves, because we figured what better way to address that than get the best minds in the room coming up with solutions. And so what we started working on was initially certificate programs at Lawrence Tech and Oakland University to try and get that talent pipeline churning a little bit faster. And in the works for an announcement in January of 2014, we've got some additional resources for companies, much of what's been talked about already this morning, as far as just making the technology more affordable and accessible to small to medium-sized companies.
Well, and it is something. In fact, Professor Dr. Michael Greaves, your book, How NASA, Apple, Boeing, and other leading organizations achieve continuing value for themselves and their customers through virtual products. The book is Space Coast Press, the publisher, Virtually Perfect, Driving Innovative and Lean Products Through Product Lifecycle Management. So this is something that you've been on for quite some time and literally have written the book on it.
That's right, Paul W. And in point of fact, I'd like to mention, even though I'm at the Florida Institute of Technology, I am chairman emeritus of the Oakland University Board of Visitors, and so I grew up in this area, and I'm very interested in seeing manufacturing come back to this southeast area and flourish. I mean, I think we're doing relatively well. But if we adopt these tools and capabilities and bring the small to medium manufacturers along, and that's going to require some education and training along with capabilities, then I think that we could really be a powerhouse much more than we are now in terms of being able to do that and be kind of an attractor point for manufacturing in the future. We have great capabilities here to begin with, and I think this would only enhance our ability to be competitive in the marketplace.
So what do you think's holding people back from adopting these capabilities? Fear of the unknown, just not sure, or what might it be?
Well, I think up front it was cost. I mean, I think it started out with cost. I mean, it's some of the stuff wasn't cheap in the past. It's becoming much more affordable. I think education. You just mentioned education. I think education's a key too. Is you got to have the education behind to understand what you're using. And I think that's some of the things that are going on now with the STEM programs and the ASBE Foundation here that's in the Detroit area. These kind of groups are bringing the high school kids, getting them into these things, getting them into the sciences and the engineering that start using these tools.
Yes, Professor.
That's a major piece of this in terms of being able to get the educational institutions like the universities, but if you ever go to a FIRST Robotics event and watch these kids,
love those kids. That goes Dean Kamen, when it actually was Dean Kamen and J.T. Battenberg III, who used to be at Delphi, who first introduced us to FIRST, for Inspiration in Research, Science, and Technology. I can't remember exactly what it stands for, but I knew it was great because I knew if this country was to be great, we needed to start hoisting the kids on our shoulders and saying we're number one.
Yeah.
That didn't quite make it onto the football field or any field of play, but we're in science and technology. That's where the world was going, and we needed to be number one. And God bless all the people who today continue with FIRST. And I know now that it's not just high school, it's in the lower level schools as well.
Correct. Mm-hmm. And by the way, if you've ever been to one of those events, it does look like a football game.
I have. I've been. We used to. I don't know why we don't do this anymore. Money is always the reason, but we used to do this. And I remember going to the national finals or whatever they called it at Walt Disney World in Florida and broadcasting. And I was thrilled to see these kids, what they learn working with men and women who love doing what they do, rather than saying, Mom and Dad come home and go, I can't stand my job, or whatever they do, God bless them. But seeing people who love doing what they do, working with those people, adults as kids, and being treated with respect, and seeing the collaboration and learning to collaborate with people that you're competing with. And when those kids get their robots ready, and some of them, I remember this, they had bagpipers. They had bagpipers leading the way out into the field of competition. I went, this is something special. You're right.
So we want to do the same thing in manufacturing and get kids involved in manufacturing.
So what are you going to do about it?
So we basically are going to start at the college level in terms of getting the curriculum so that first year students on up are introduced to this, and this is integrated in the curriculum. But rapidly, we're going to move it down into the lower grades, and with the ability to do this 3D printing, the ability to simply send to a printer a whole design and see it come out, and the cost of that is going down. I think we're going to basically see a lot of kids get back interested in the manufacturing side, because it isn't the dirty, ugly thing it once was. It really is a pretty interesting, fascinating, and if they would go over and see, Don's, talk about Sim City, the ability to simulate an entire facility and see how to do production. It really is pretty cool, but we got to get the educational community to come along with us on this, because the old ways of doing things, the 20th century methods of education, first of all, don't do it for the students, and second of all, are not going to prepare them for what we want to do.
How do you get academia involved to make sure that they are involved the way you need them to? And I'll ask you too, Rick, where do you expect the technology to be in the next 5 years?
Boy, I want to go back and answer the old question.
Well, go ahead. Go to the old question and then the new. We're very flexible here.
As Kelly referenced earlier, getting industry and education connected so that they understand each needs is key. And then also getting the different industries and capabilities that are existing here in Michigan connected is also very key. There are certain parts of the country that look at modeling, simulation, and visualization not only as a tool, but they look at it as an industry. And when you look at it as an industry, then it makes you look at it from the perspective of how do we get that voice and the universities connected? How do we bring the technology into place that can support all that? So when you look at it as a business issue, it clarifies things a little bit. But one of the key things is just getting all the skill that we have in Michigan aware of each other, because we have talent and activities going on here in the state that are totally unrecognized. As far as where is the technology going, the technology is getting more shrunk and more powerful, so I see it much more mobile than it is today. I think one of the biggest changes is going to be the bandwidth of the infrastructure, or I should say the computing infrastructures and the bandwidth it has, so that streaming data, 3D immersive technologies, clouds, render farms, clusters, all that stuff becomes even more powerful.
Don, why is the Big M event that we're leading toward in June of 2014, why would you say that it's important for General Dynamics Land Systems?
Well, let's go back to what we were just talking about with the education and bringing the kids into it. I think that's part of it, is getting more recognition and getting people engaged in it. I think that's one of the biggest things, and that's what what Kelly and the group's putting together. I think that's going to help that, and then just getting more, I'll say the smaller, medium-sized businesses engaged in this stuff and using the tools, and I think again I'm back to the kids, getting the kids engaged. And one of the things we did, you had asked earlier how to get the kids engaged. One of the things that General Dynamics did here recently in the last year was got involved with the ASBE Foundation, which is a local group for a body design group that's been around since I think the 60s. And what we did was brought the teachers in back in the spring. We brought the teachers from the southeast Michigan area in, and we brought them into an organization, something that GD started called our Maneuver and Collaboration Center, or MC Squared Center, which has all these technologies, just like Mike said, to bring the kids in and see this. This MC Squared facility has all that technology. We actually even simulate battlefield situations. So we're taking that simulation and actually simulating a battlefield, and companies can bring in ideas and thoughts, people can bring in thoughts that we can actually put them into a battlefield situation. So these kids now are coming in under a curriculum that the high school teachers put together, and these kids come in, and I think we're bringing them in one Friday a month now, and they'll come in and they'll see this stuff. And they'll be able to touch equipment, they'll get in a turret for a tank, they'll be able to see equipment, they'll see these simulations, and it's just really, even for the older people, when they come in, when they see it,
I haven't been in a tank turret in a while.
More experienced people, they act like kids.
Everybody, obviously your enthusiasm is contagious and the excitement is great.
Mm-hmm. It's good. It's great for the kids.
And if I could just commend Don and General Dynamics for bringing the students into that environment, and encourage other businesses to do the same, because I actually have firsthand experience with the first robotics community. I mentor a team out of Sterling Heights.
Beautiful.
And I can tell you from working with these kids for the past 4 or 5 years that the momentum is there as far as the interest. You don't need to do any arm twisting. They want to go into these fields. But if you don't present them with the tools and technology and resources available, they'll go find it somewhere else. And so for those companies that are, maybe a little hesitant to employ this kind of technology, get it in and then get students in, because that's, the high school talent pipeline is really at an incredible state right now.
So we think that that's kind of the mechanism, is that the small to medium manufacturers can't hire, very expensive programming people, but some of these students that are coming along will get sort of the ability to sort of matchmake between the older manufacturing people and the younger students, to basically be able to do this ecosystem of having the manufacturers, the educational institutions, and the students be able to come together to in essence generate this kind of interest that we've got in the southeast area. So Automation Alley and SME, I think, are doing a great job in terms of trying to foster that, and we're going to sort of mix it up and see where it goes. We don't exactly know what's going to happen, but I think when you sort of put those kind of folks together, that good things will come out of that.
Which leads to a predominant question coming from our web viewers on this live webcast. What industries can leverage this technology, and how?
All of the above. Basically, there isn't an industry. So I do consulting work for NASA. And one of the things that NASA doesn't like to say is oops, because it's a very expensive proposition. And so we do a lot of modeling and simulation to make sure that when we launch something, it actually goes where it's supposed to go. And so everywhere from NASA to classical industrial manufacturing, automotive and aerospace has been the leaders in product lifecycle management, but medical devices, heavy industry in terms of Caterpillar and Deere, pretty much everybody can use this capability. I mean, if you've got a product that you're going to have to go out and actually bend some metal or plastic with, that is an industry that can use this capability.
Another exciting technology is 3D immersive technologies, where you're effectively creating a hologram which you can step into and be literally connected to that environment, whether it's what's immediately around you, like if it was an automobile, you could step into the interior.
Wow.
You could bend forward, put your head through the dashboard and see what's in the engine. You can look out the windows and see the terrain or the reflections of the sun in your dashboard. I mean, it creates an environment that's so realistic that you can make decisions based on that. And as we expose kids to some of that kind of technology, we've been bringing different students through a environment that we set up that's called the Rave Cave, which is a 3D immersive 10 by 10 by 10 room. It's easy for the kids then to see that the gaming industry and the new 3D immersive technologies that are available are very closely related. And for all those kids that said they want to be a game programmer, where they can put that to practical use is in industry.
What a whole new meaning for Rave Cave, too, for those college kids listening in. Wow.
Not that kind of rave.
No, not that kind. Thank goodness. But with all of that, how important, Kelly, is the Big M event for the region and to Automation Alley?
Oh, it's the event of the year. I think if you're connected to manufacturing in any way, it's not just another expo. It's not just a trade show. It's not a seminar. It's a place where if you're connected to any point of the manufacturing process, you can come and talk about the challenges facing the industry, and not only the challenges, but solutions to address those challenges, and just see exciting things happening. I mean, like I said, the fact that it's in Detroit, it says something about the region. If you look at some of the stats about the state of Michigan, manufacturing accounts for 90% of our exports. We're already a player in this space. Michigan across the country was the fastest growing state for manufacturing job growth in the last 3 years. So there is this incredible momentum, and I think if you are aware of it already or are looking to get more information, this is the kind of event where it's one-stop shop. You get it all in one place.
The entire manufacturing industry uniting in Detroit in June of 2014 at Cobo Center. And we'll have our Big M live webcast leading up to it each month. How 3D advanced technology is shaping the future of manufacturing, MSV modeling, simulation, visualization, with our guest experts. And we thank Dr. Michael Greaves, research professor at Florida Institute of Technology, product lifecycle management, PLM author, expert and professor. Virtually Perfect, his latest book that's out there now. Thanks to Rick Darter, too, president and CEO of Rave Computer. Don Ishmael, Senior Director of General Dynamics Land Systems, and Kelly Kozlowski, Director of Public Affairs for Automation Alley. For News Talk 760 WJR and SME and the Big M Live webcast, regards, Paul W. Smith.